Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiri Nashtavrayeshu Vadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhagavati Naistiki. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 26, Fundamental Principles of Material Nature, text number 6 onwards. Evam paravidhyanena kartitvam prakrite puman karmasu kriyamaneshu guneratmani manite. Because of his forgetfulness, the transcendental living entity accepts the influence of material energy as his field of activities, and thus actuated, he wrongly applies the activities to himself. The forgetful living entity can be compared to a man who is under the influence of disease and has become mad, or to a man haunted by ghosts, who acts without control and yet thinks himself to be in control. Under the influence of material nature, the conditioned soul becomes absorbed in material consciousness. In this consciousness, whatever is done under the influence of the material energy is accepted by the conditioned soul as self-actuated. Actually, the soul in its pure state of existence should be in Krishna consciousness. When a person is not acting in Krishna consciousness, he is understood to be acting in material consciousness. Consciousness cannot be killed, for the symptom of the living entity is consciousness. The material consciousness simply has to be purified. One becomes liberated by accepting Krishna or the Supreme Lord as master, and by changing the mode of consciousness from material consciousness to Krishna consciousness. So under the spell of the three modes, like we discussed yesterday, the living entity's consciousness gets covered, and then he starts thinking in terms of the body, and I am this body, and activities done by the body, he thinks they are my activities. I am doing those. Yes, the soul is acting through the body, but the soul's consciousness is completely covered over. Pure soul, pure soul, we are divine souls. We are from the spiritual world, we all are servants of Krishna. But here we have forgotten completely everything. And look at everybody, how is everybody acting? This is what, like a ghost, they are haunted by ghosts, something like that. So all we have to do is purify the consciousness or get the covering of material consciousness out and let the real light of the real soul shine forth. And that is Krishna consciousness. That's all. Tadasya samsritirbandha paratantram jatat bhavati kartur shirasya sakshino nirvritatmanaha. Material consciousness is the cause of one's conditional life, in which conditions are enforced upon the living entity by the material energy. Although spirit soul does not do anything and is transcendental to such activities, he is thus affected by conditional life. The Mayavadi philosopher, who does not differentiate between the Supreme Spirit and the individual spirit, says that the conditional existence of the living entity is his lila or pastime. But the word pastime implies employment in the activities of the Lord. Mayavadis misuse the word and say that even if the living entity has become a stool-eating hog, he is enjoying his pastime. This is a most dangerous interpretation, Actually, the Supreme Lord is the leader and maintainer of all living entities. His pastimes are transcendental to any material activity. Such pastimes of the Lord cannot be dragged to the level of the conditioned activities of the living entities. In conditional life, the living entity actually remains as if a captive in the hands of material energy. Whatever the material energy dictates, the conditioned soul does. He has no responsibility. He is simply the witness of the action. But he is forced to act in that way due to his offense in his eternal relationship with Krishna. Lord Krishna therefore says in Bhagavad Gita that Maya, his material energy, is so forceful that it is insurmountable. Okay. So Mayavadi philosophers say that we are God. We all are God. So whatever is happening is our pastime. So if this virus, coronavirus, whatever he is doing, it's his pastime because he is God. And if we are getting sick, it is our pastime. It's not our pastime. That's nonsense. Pastime word is, Leela word is used only for the Supreme Lord or his associates. They do Leela. Pastimes, Leela means when Krishna always is independent. So out of his independence and out of his mercy, out of his enjoying spirit, when he does anything, we do anything under the modes of material nature and because of our karma. Either because of the reaction to the karma or we are generating new karma. That's all. But the Mayavadis, they think everybody is God. So everything is Leela. Whatever is going on is all is Leela. And like they say, the hog, when he is eating stool, he is enjoying his pastimes because he is God. No, that's nonsense philosophy. We are not God. We're not going to become God at any time. It's because of the material nature, the spirit soul, which is divine, which is spiritual, which is part and parcel of Krishna, it has forgotten his real position. And now he has become a conditioned living entity. What is a conditioned living entity? He has to live under the certain parameters of the body that he has received. In a human body, he can only do certain things. This. These are the limitations of the body. Like, we cannot hear a sound below certain frequency and above certain frequency. We cannot jump as high as a monkey jumps. We cannot fly like a bird in the sky. We can manufacture a plane because we are given intelligence, but we still cannot fly like a bird. We cannot jump like a monkey. Okay, now we can devise some things that we can jump even higher than monkey, but that is based on the condition of those devices, not on our. We cannot live inside water like a fish. We can manufacture a submarine and live inside the submarine that goes underwater, but that is not equivalent to living like a fish. So our body has some conditions, some parameters. Within those parameters, we can operate. So conditions are there. Our eyes cannot see in the dark. When there is pitch dark, okay, we can put night vision glasses. That is something else. But still, we cannot see in the pitch dark. But can you imagine the animals in the jungle? In the jungle, there is no light at night. But animals in jungle can see everything at night or in the daytime. They don't have to put on any special glasses. So that's a special condition for them. Of course, they have their own limitations. Everybody has a limitation. Limitation means the conditions. But the soul is beyond these conditions. But because we have fallen in the material world, we are bound by the material modes of nature, and that's why we have adopted this material body and then the material consciousness. Now, as a human being, we have this opportunity to remove this covering of material consciousness and get back to our original spiritual Krishna consciousness. Lord Krishna therefore says in Bhagavad Gita that Maya is a material energy so forceful that it is insurmountable. But if a living entity simply understands that his constitutional position is to serve Krishna and that he tries to act on this principle, then however conditioned he may be, the influence of Maya immediately vanishes. This is clearly stated in Bhagavad Gita, 7th chapter. Krishna takes charge of anyone who surrenders to him in helplessness, and thus the influence of Maya or conditioned life is removed. Now, to remove this material consciousness is not easy. Maya is insurmountable. Devi Yesha Gunamai. But Krishna gives a solution. He says, just surrender unto me. Mame vya prapadante maya metam tarante. So those who surrender to me, they can just get rid of this Maya. They can walk over this Maya easily. So Krishna takes charge. So because why? Because Krishna is not under the influence of Maya. He's not bound. He's not conditioned, just like we are. So that's how he can remove us from the clutches of Maya. The spirit soul is actually Satchitananda, eternal, full of bliss and full of knowledge. Under the clutches of Maya, however, he suffers from continued birth, death, disease, and old age. One has to be serious to cure this condition of material existence and transfer himself to Krishna consciousness. For thus his long suffering may be mitigated without difficulty. In summary, the suffering of the conditioned soul is due to his attachment to material nature. This attachment should thus be transferred from matter to Krishna. So that's all. That's a simple solution. Transferring of our attachment from matter to Krishna. In fact, no such transfer. Just we have to get ourselves somehow or other attached to Krishna. Then automatically the transfer will take place. We can only be one conscious, either Krishna conscious or material conscious. In between we are trying. So sometimes, most of the time we are Maya conscious and very little time we are Krishna. We're trying to be Krishna conscious. So somehow or other, slowly, we have to transfer ourselves from the world of illusion to the world of reality. That's all. Karya karan kartritve karanam prakritim viduhu bhautritve sukh dukkhanam purusham prakrite param. The cause of the conditioned soul's material body and the senses presiding deities, the demigods, is a material nature. This is understood by learned men. The feelings of happiness and distress of the soul, who is transcendental by nature, are caused by the spirit soul himself. The cause of the conditioned soul's material body and the senses presiding deities, the demigods, is a material nature. The feelings of happiness and distress of the soul, who is transcendental by nature, are caused by the spirit soul himself. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that when the Lord descends to this material world, he comes as a person by his own energy, Atma Maya. He is not forced by any superior energy. He comes by his own will. And this can be called his pastime or Leela. But here it is clearly stated that the conditioned soul is forced to take a certain type of body and senses under the three modes of material nature. That body is not received according to his own choice. So that body, the body that we have, is not by my choice. That I be born in India in a male body in this kind of parents and this particular family I want to be born in. No. Everything is decided according to my previous life's karma and the desires by higher authorities. In other words, a conditioned soul has no free choice. He has to accept a certain type of body according to his karma. But when there are worldly reactions as felt in happiness and distress, it is to be understood that the cause is a spirit soul himself. If he so desires, a spirit soul can change this conditional life of dualities by choosing to serve Krishna. The living entity is the cause of his own suffering, but he can also be the cause of his eternal happiness. When he wants to engage in Krishna consciousness, a suitable body is offered to him by the internal potency, the spiritual energy of the Lord. And when he wants to satisfy his senses, a material body is offered. Thus, it is his free choice to accept his spiritual body or a material body. But once the body is accepted, he has to enjoy or suffer the consequences. The Mayavadi philosopher's presentation is that the living entity enjoys his pastimes by accepting the body of a hog. This theory is not acceptable, however, because the word pastime implies voluntary acceptance for enjoyment. Therefore, this interpretation is most misleading. When there is enforced acceptance for suffering, it is not a pastime. The Lord's pastimes and the conditioned living entity's acceptance of karmic reaction are not on the same level. So these days, we are suffering from this coronavirus. Then the authorities have put us in lockdown. So nobody wants to be in the lockdown. Nobody wants. Even when we keep the animals in zoo or in cages, they don't want to be in there. So just like now we are, nobody wants that. So if somebody say, oh, this is my pastime, that I am locked down inside my house and I cannot get out. Of course, they will say, I don't want to get out. But this is not a pastime. This is being forced upon us. Being forced to live in a certain way. For whatever reason, the government is making some arrangement, that is a different reason. But we don't like this forced living. But we have to go through it because it is not our pastime. It is our reaction. You're getting this reaction. So similarly, living in the material world is not a pastime. Taking birth in 8,400,000 species of life is not a pastime. And it is our choice that we chose the material world. We choose to live in the material world. Now, that's all we can choose. Rest how we live, where we take birth, nothing in our hands. So why not choose a Krishna conscious life, a spiritual body? We have to work on it, no doubt. The progress is not easy. The leading a Krishna conscious life is not easy. But is leading a material life easy? And we can see it now. The whole world is suffering. That we can see. I mean, otherwise everybody is suffering anyway, that we don't see, because there's something collective suffering that has come upon all of us. Then now it is visible. Yes, the whole world is suffering. So living in the material world, living a material life is not at all easy. All we have to do is work a little bit harder, a little bit more towards Krishna consciousness. And then after we leave this body, we can lead a very nice life in the spiritual world along with Krishna. Sometimes people say, well, how do you know? There would be Krishna conscious life in the spiritual world after this, if we live properly. Well, first of all, we know from the scriptures, and even if we don't have faith in the scripture, then the devotees or sadhus like Srila Prabhupada has come and they have told us, even if we don't have faith in that, suppose, then living a Krishna conscious life in this life itself is very rewarding, is blissful. We're not performing any wrong activities, not performing any sinful activities for which we have to suffer later on. Our lifestyle, our eating, our other activities throughout the day are very nice, very satisfying, very soothing. So living this way is great to begin with. And if everything that is mentioned in the scriptures and everything that Srila Prabhupada has told is true, then there's nothing like that in the spiritual world. If we transfer to the spiritual world, no more problem, no more birth, no old age, no disease, no coronavirus, or no that virus, or no this virus, and no death, nothing. So even if for not, and even if it not for anything else, even if it is not for say we're gonna get a chance to be with Krishna or with Krishna's associates, we're gonna get a chance to serve him, we're gonna chance to just be happy. We just should work hard on transferring to spiritual world, just to get away from old age, disease, death, office deadlines, rush hour traffic, pollution, this or that. This is in itself a good incentive to go to spiritual world. So now, from next verse, Mother Devhuti will start asking more questions, so we'll take it up tomorrow onwards. So any questions or comments for today?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for this explanation. So, like when you talk about the collective karma, it is so difficult to understand about law of karma for me, because the epidemic, whichever is now going on, due to this, one Prabhuji from ISKCON has left his body. So I don't understand sometimes, like because of somebody else's karma, even the saintly people also have to suffer. So how like this karma works exactly? In one part of the world, people are really maintaining all the regular, following the rules and regulations and doing chanting and praying for the whole world. And in the other part of the world, people are always ready to break the rules and doing violence and all. And because of them, even the pious people are also suffering. So how like law of karma works in such cases? Can you please explain?
Well, first of all, even Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, law of karma is very difficult to understand, very difficult. And now talking about pious and impious people, everybody suffering from the same collective karma. Well, the difference is There is a difference. In case of impious people, they are suffering from the reactions of their karma, but their suffering has not ended here. The death is not the end of the suffering for them. They're going to take birth again and again suffer. But in case of a pious person, especially a devotee, if he has done his bhakti to such an extent that he is transferred to the spiritual world, I don't know, maybe he is. If not, then at least he will be born, as Krishna says in Gita, in the house of pious family, or rich family, or high family, high class family, something like that, whatever happens, so that he can continue his yoga practice or bhakti practice from there on. So there's a huge difference. We all have to die. We all have to leave our bodies, that's for sure. Now, what happens after we leave the body, that's a different story. So that Prabhuji
Yes.
who died because of coronavirus, yes, he had some, whatever karma was left, he had to suffer for that. But the next life is definitely wonderful.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you very much.
There's a difference. There's a huge difference. Any other question or comment? Okay, so I guess we can stop here. You all have a wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Prabhupada.